Ready to break up with your bullshit? I mean, all those excuses that are keeping you stuck. Because you have one life to live. And if you're not having fun yet, then that's a problem, dude. Welcome to Goals, Grit, and some woo-woo shit. The podcast where you learn about the habits of kicking ass at life. Whether you want to get ripped, get rich, or just get high on life, this is the place to be. Here's your host, best-selling author and feel-good expert, Una Duncan.
Hello, Mindy. I am so happy to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
You too. I'm so glad to see you, my friend. It's been a very long time.
Mindy, I have heard you in the past call yourself a fitness fossil. Can you explain that?
Well, I started teaching mother-daughter disco. So that's the first movement. When I was 17 years old, went on to teach aerobics before aerobics was even a word. And I got myself through school teaching fitness. I'm 61 now. So that's a long, long time. I won the World Aerobic Championship in 1991, and that really propelled me then to speak at conferences and to be a sponsored athlete. And it just sort of just went, the trajectory was just up from there.
I love it. So the first thing I wanted to say is, so you're 61. I last saw you probably a couple of years ago, so you were in your late 50s. And Mindy, you were literally mopping up the floor with athletes, professional trainers who were probably in their 20s. And when I say mopping up the floor, I want everyone to picture Mindy, tiny little Mindy, tiny and ripped. This is what you got to picture. A tiny, ripped, redhead lady standing over top of a 20-something personal trainer dude who's massive, and he's like passed out in a puddle of his own sweat. And Mindy's leaning over him going, "Get up! What are you doing?" So, Mindy, what's the secret? I feel like, there's so many people I feel who think, oh, I'm too old. I'm never going to get fit. And I don't know if it's the age that I'm at or if my clientele is kind of aging with me. But right now on Facebook, I've constantly marketed with all this stuff about menopause and how, oh dear, here comes menopause or here comes perimenopause. Everything's going to go to shit now. I just wondered if you could speak to a little bit of this idea of, I don't know, our imminent demise when we become mature women.
I am so glad you asked that question. I think I need about 4 hours to answer that question because I have a lot to say.
Great,
so let me go back to the beginning of my menopausal life. About 40, I was like 46, started having night sweats, hot flashes, adult acne, really a dip in the day at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and mood swings. I mean, everything that goes with menopause, right? Well, I started really diving into plant-based nutrition, gave up dairy. 2 days after I gave up dairy, no night sweats, no hot flashes, no adult acne, my dip in the day, I don't have a dip in the day. There's no time in the day where I go, oh, I'm a little tired, I need a little Snickers bar. I mean, there's nothing, right?
Right.
Because I changed my diet, I really, at about 46 or so, I kind of said, you know what, this is probably the best I'm going to be. Everything's kind of going to go downhill from here. I'm probably going to gain weight. Everything that you hear is normal for women going through menopause and women aging. Changed my diet. Everything turned around. I'm pretty optimal right now at 61. And I think it all is because I didn't listen to the norm noise, right? There's norm noise. This is how it's going to be. Everybody goes through this. You're just one of everybody else. Heck no. If you eat, seriously, if you eat a whole food plant-based diet or go get as much leaning to the green as possible, and give up dairy. Now in Canada, you have it going on. You guys took dairy off your food plate. You did.
Oh, yeah.
So because we have the lobbyist groups that come in and they give so much money, and so the dairy and the meat industry have such a say in how we eat in America. But in Canada, you don't have that influence. So you've all taken dairy off your food plate, which is unbelievably fantastic.
Yeah, I really like the revision of our food guide for sure.
Yeah.
So there's two things that I'm hearing there. One is definitely nutrition shift was huge for you. And I know that you and Bruce are absolute warriors in educating people about this. And I'm definitely going to ask you more about that. The other thing I heard is that there is a mindset of like, fuck that normal. I'm not going to do that. Let everybody
Yeah.
else get out of shape and have this kind of aging experience. And I absolutely will not be doing that.
You have to
Would you say that's
listen
true?
to your own inner self. Yeah. You cannot listen to the noise out there. If I did, and if Bruce did, Bruce probably wouldn't be alive right now. That's the number one thing. I mean, Bruce has late
Yeah.
stage prostate cancer. All the doctors said, you know what? You're not going to have any erectile function with all of the treatments that you're going through throughout this last 10 years of his cancer journey. And the opposite is true. He's doing just great.
If you guys are wondering why Mindy went straight to erectile dysfunction, her book is called The Plant Powered Penis. And I'm going to ask you all about that because I just finished reading it and it was so fun. But first, actually, Mindy, I want to take you back to that aerobics championship. It was the national or the world championship that you won in 1991?
So I won both. I won the national
Okay.
in the United States, and then I won the world in Japan. So it was pretty spectacular to win both in the same year. Yeah. Yeah.
That is amazing. So when we see the meme of the people in the purple outfits and they're doing the dance, like, was that it? Was that what you were doing?
That was it. We are the champions, the champions. Boom, boom, boom,
Yes.
boom. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That was me. That was me.
That
Where
was you.
you're wearing skin colored tights. You're wearing the thong leotard that goes way in the back.
Oh,
And yeah.
yeah.
And then I went on to tour for the whole year. And then different companies started kind of, well, asking me if I would support their product or program or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so I started in teaching teachers with the Spalding sport rope. It was a weighted jump rope. It was way back in the day. That's when I did my first fitness video. And then from there, the trajectory was just up from there. It was
Right.
so much fun going to every single conference worldwide. It was a blast.
Yeah. And so what does it take to win the World Aerobics Championships? Like how did you prepare for that? What do you need to do to make that happen?
You have to really, really rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. And it's really shouldn't be called the National Aerobic Championship. It should be called the National Anaerobic Championship because it's only a 2-minute
Oh, yeah.
routine. It's a 1 minute, 45-second routine, but you are completely anaerobic the entire whole time. So I had a coach, I had a choreographer, I had a sponsor, and I had two small little kids at the time. So I was taking them to every choreography appointment and
Oh my gosh.
fitting and it was craziness. And then you also have to have the mindset too. Everything I talk about is mindset, but the mindset was there are around the country there are 10 regionals. So then the best of those 10 regionals then go to the nationals, and they're all spectacular athletes. So you're pitted against other people that are just as good or better than you, right? There were people that were better than me, but I had this mental mindset of I am going to win the National Aerobic Championship. And then I did the same thing with the world. And I remember I had the semifinals and I didn't do so well. I kind of botched one of the moves, and I just had to have this mind shift turnaround that said, okay, that's it. That was your one mistake. That was it. Now, come on, go for the gold. And I won because of my mental state. I didn't win because of my physicality, because there were people that were actually better than I was back in the day.
So can you be more specific on what you did mentally? Like, did you picture yourself on I don't know, was there a podium, or like, did you use affirmations? Did you tell yourself I am the winner? Like, what did you do mentally to get yourself in mental shape for this?
Yeah, I had signs all around the house. You're going to win. You're going to win. You're the winner. You're gold medal, blah, 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 all over. Right. So I got to take them all down after my husband was very happy that I could take everything down. But I lived it. I lived it 24/7, and it was a total 100% commitment. And I never doubted
I
myself.
love that. And you also wrote in your book that you involved your family. And I really
Mm-hmm.
like that because so much about your book, you talk about the importance of relationships. And right from those early days, right from the championship, you got your family involved. It couldn't be like a side thing that you were obsessed with that was taking you away from your family.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be something that the entire family was involved in. Can you tell us more
Yeah.
about that?
Or they would resent what I was doing, right? They wouldn't embrace it. They would resent it. And I certainly didn't want that, because then that would be something that I would have to deal with. So when I had two little boys at the time. I didn't have my third one yet, but I had two little boys at the time, and I did my routine for the coach, and then they got to do their routine for the coach. So while I was resting, they were performing for us. So it was
Oh.
really fun. And then with Bruce as well, he was working full time, because he certainly was supporting the ship at this time. So I was doing it pretty much when he was working, and then when he would come home from work, I tried to really dive into the family and give the family whatever they needed. So it wasn't so narcissistic that it was all me, me, me. It was me at this time. So I compartmentalized very well, which men are very good at and women are not so good at. And I closed one door so I could really be with the family 100%. And this is what I talk about in balance lectures, is that what women do is we feel very guilty when we're not working. If we're with a family, we feel really guilty when we're with a family that we're not working. We have to stop that whole guilt, tightrope, and we have to work when we're working and not worry about these guys over here. They're fine. They'll be good when we get there. When we get there, we don't worry about this over here. So when I would go to conferences and speak every weekend, people would say, well, don't you miss your family? And I'd say, I do not. I don't miss my children. I don't miss my husband. You know why? Because I can't. Because in order to be 100% for
Yeah.
you, who I'm teaching right now, I have to dive into you. I have to be right in with what I'm doing. And then when I'm there, I'm 100% there. That's what I learned. That's how I learned to really have that balancing act and
I
make it
love
work.
that.
Yeah.
And I've been on the receiving end of that, having been in your workshops. I have seen how you are 100% focused and with us and with the person who's in front of you in that moment. You are 1,000% with them. And do you
Thank
know what?
you.
I don't know if you remember telling this story. It really stuck with me as a mom goal. So you told us once that every year there would be a day when you would not drive your kids to school as usual, but there would be a day when you would take the other ramp and you'd go to Disneyland, and they
Oh
never
my
knew what day
gosh.
it was going to be.
Oh no, you remember all of this stuff. That's true. Oh, I love it so much. And they never knew. They never knew. It was like, oh, what? Today's the day. What? Today's the day. It was really so much fun.
So you've got this spectacular fitness career and you're training teachers and instructors all over the world and you're involving your family and everything's going great. And then your husband, Bruce, got a diagnosis of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you can maybe share us a little bit about that moment. But I know that after that, it really united you guys in a shared purpose of teaching what you had learned about nutrition since then. So can you talk a little bit about what's happened since that diagnosis and how it kind of took you on a different path?
We had been working together for approximately about 10 years prior to his diagnosis, and we had dove into plant-based nutrition about a year before he got diagnosed. We were already leaning to the green, and cholesterol numbers dropped so significantly. That's when he went to the doctor to pretty much brag to his doctor. And his doctor said, well, wait a minute, we got something else going on. But the doctor also said, this prostate cancer has been growing in your body for at least 10 years. So when it gets to this point, it's been doing its work for a very, very long time. So, it was a stomach punch. It was absolutely it blindsided us. Everything. I remember a couple weeks prior to him being diagnosed, I said, we were at dinner one night and I said, you know what? Our lives are it's perfect. Everything is perfect. and then like this. And it was really, really, really hard. Through the ups and the downs and the ins and the outs. And we really wanted to make a huge difference in the fitness industry, in the wellness industry. And what was not being discussed is evidence-based nutrition. Well, a lot of things are being discussed as, oh, here, take this potion or this pill, especially in the fitness industry. It's about, can I sell you a shake? Can I sell you a pre-workout packaged thing or post? And then of course you have the whole camp of high protein, right? So we dove in hook, line, and sinker. We created a program, a nonprofit called One Day to Wellness. We lecture all over the world on evidence-based nutrition, fitness, and wellness. We really look at the blue zones. The blue zones are pockets of communities all over the world who live substantially longer lives and thrive in their lives. They're not living with a sack of pills. They're living great lives into their hundreds by eating primarily whole food, plant-based foods, by moving throughout the day, not by just working out for 1 hour and then the rest of the day they sit. It's really
I want to ask you more about that later.
Throughout the day. Yeah, because that's what Bruce and I do. We really follow the Blue Zones philosophy. And it's just being present with food, with movement, with our relationships. And so we started that. And then about 6 years ago, we were traveling all over every single weekend in an airplane. I'm a 2 million mile flyer. It's crazy. And Bruce had a tantrum in the Atlanta airport. He said, he sat down, he crossed his arms. He says, I'm not getting on this airplane. We're just going to go for 2 days to go home to California. We're going to come back and we have to go to Washington, D.C. for another conference. He said, we got to do something else. We can't live on airplanes. And I said, well, what do you think? He goes, let's buy an RV. Let's buy an RV and we'll travel around in the RV. And I said, oh, come on, you're crazy. And he said, no, let's do it. And I said, okay, let's do it. So we did. We found a 2008 Itasca Winnebago, used, only had 6,000 miles on it. We wrapped the outside in our logo, onedaytowellness.org, and fruits and vegetables all over the outside. And it has been our, this is it. We live in here. So that's my bed. There's
guys, this RV is something to behold. You got to see it from the outside, because what Mindy and Bruce do is they drive into the conference center and there's their home in the middle of this big conference center. And it is this massive RV that's covered in fruits and vegetables. It's really colorful and amazing. And Mindy, you've told me before what happens when you guys pull up to an RV park. Like, it's instant friends, right?
No, we thought it would be. Okay. So we thought, all right, because every weekend we're at a conference, and every weekend we can really help a lot of people if they want to be helped. If they don't want to, then we certainly, there's a lot of people that'll close their door. Well, in an RV park, most of the people close their door. It's not the bastion of help at RV parks. There's there's a fear. We roll in with fruits and vegetables. Well, some people think we're a smoothie truck, and so they'll run up and say, I want to buy a smoothie. But most of the time in an RV park, we do get a lot of questions. What do you do? I'm interested in hearing about your work. But there's a lot of people that are very resistant. They like what they like. And you know what? You can't push anything on anyone. So we just stand back. And we're here if anyone wants to ask a question, but we certainly do not push anything on anyone else. And that's what we've learned.
And they're like aggressively barbecuing in front of your RV kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so you are traveling around in this RV and you and Bruce are so passionate about what you do, which is amazing. And actually, I think that you did say, and not to be too Pollyanna about Bruce's diagnosis and the amazing challenges that you guys have been through, but you also say that having this shared purpose is one of the things that you credit your 40-year very strong marriage for. You even tell a story about being in restaurants and people often come up to you and assume that you're dating because of how flirty and giggly you guys are, right?
Yeah, it's unusual. It really is, to have a relationship that is, it's just, there's so much love, but then there's so much like, and I just really like him. That's the thing. He's my best friend. He's my lover. He's my work associate. I mean, we're in business together. We live 24/7 in a tin can. And like, for example, we'll be lecturing together. And after the lecture, I'll say, hey, Bruce, that was fantastic. However, there was one thing that blah, blah, blah. And he'll say, thanks so much for telling me that. And then he'll say, well, but there's one thing that I'll say, well, thank you so much for telling me that. So we're very good at not, I don't want to say trite, but don't sweat the small stuff. It's really, once you have cancer, I told him, I said, you know what, you got the cancer card, but that's just, it's very fortunate for us that we found each other, because I don't know. I don't know who I would be a partner with any better than I am with him.
It's beautiful.
He's awesome.
And so you wrote this book, The Plant-Powered Penis. So my first question is,
and you're so good at saying that word.
Well, thank you.
I have been on some podcasts where they don't say it. They don't say the word penis. They say, well,
they don't
that
say
organ
penis
down there that. No, I was on a few podcasts where they say, well, you can't say that word, but we'll say the organ, the male organ, blah, blah.
It's like
and then I was
anatomical word.
And then I was on this other podcast that the guy, I said, no, we've been married for 40 years and our sex is, he said, well, wait. You've been married for 40 years to the same person and you still have sex with that same person? That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
So when you wrote this book, and it's such an amazing title, were you, I'm assuming that sort of like me, a lot of the people that follow you would be women, and other fitness instructors and stuff like that. So were you hoping to attract a male audience or just anyone who's a fan of penises?
Oh, well, as I say in my book, you either have one or you know someone who has one. And so it is for everyone. I wanted to write this book because it's my story. And I've always wanted to write a book. And then I thought, you know what? I want to write a book that's so different and unique and is needed in the world, right? I don't want to just write a book just to write a book. I want to write a book that has a voice and that needs to be heard. And when Bruce was diagnosed, as I said, the doctors told me that because of his diagnosis and all of his treatment, that he wouldn't have erectile function. Well, the opposite's true. And I'm very good when I dive into something. I'm pretty darn good at finding the resources necessary. And even if it's out of my lane, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything about the penis. Well, I do now. But when I started, I just had my stories, right? I have 3 boys. I have 3 brothers. I've got a husband. I've got a father. I've got a lot of really cool penis stories, super fun penis stories, but I didn't have a lot of science to back up erectile function. What causes erectile function? What foods can really help with blood flow down to the smallest veins that the men have, so that it doesn't creep up the vein chain, so they get atherosclerosis and a heart attack or dementia. I mean, really, erectile dysfunction is an early sign for having all of the worser stuff happen to you. So
the canary in the coal mine kind of thing.
That's right, exactly. So I wrote the book because I came up with a great name. I have a great story. The story needed to be told, and it was so fun. The whole process was just a blast. Now people are asking me, will you do like the vegetable vagina and or whatever? Yeah, no, but it would be the same book. It would be the same exact book. The same foods are what drive the blood flow into the woman's
every
parts
region.
and the men's parts. Yeah. So I have a partner pointer section in there that's all about relationships and everything. I have an exercise section. I have a recipe section. They would all be the same because it's the same story. What fuels the men's sexual organs fuels the woman's. So
and you're so playful in the book. I love that you said you wanted to make it a pop-up book, which I thought was so funny.
I tried. I looked into that, and it would cost a lot more money. But I wanted every page like a vegetable to just pop up, like a carrot or a celery or Yeah.
And you have some great penis facts in there. My favorite penis fact was that you said that if a man is flaccid and he's standing normally and he looks down and he can't see his penis, that's a good indication that he might not be in the best condition cardiovascularly.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Because think
Yeah.
about it. If you've got fat around your organs, that's the worst type of fat that you could possibly have, and that's the midsection. So that's definitely a precursor for perhaps some chronic disease to come. Yep.
Yeah. And you make it very sexy too. Like you talk a lot about, what an aphrodisiac it is to cook together and that maybe all three of your boys were conceived in the kitchen and how hot it is to see, a man cooking fruit or something like that. And I really love you kept bringing it back to relationships because I really think it is a lot about relationships. When I was young, my mom, when she had some objection to something like grungy that I was wearing, she'd say, Una, you can eat to please yourself, but you must dress to please others, which I didn't. But I think that sentence went through my head because I'm like, I think sometimes we actually eat to please others too. I think that there's so much about the way we eat in relationships. And I love that you talk about that in this book. You say people look at what's in your grocery cart. People will have feelings about you changing your diet. Can you talk a little bit about people who are worried about how leaning to the green, as you say, which I love that expression, how it might influence their relationships, how they might not be able to have their favorite traditions, how they might alienate loved ones or make people feel like they're picky. I don't know talk about that relationship aspect of changing your diet.
Well, you have got to have a tribe that can support you and believe in what you believe in. So, for example, here in the U.S., in 2 days, we've got Thanksgiving coming up, and it's going to be a huge challenge because we're going to my in-laws who are not plant-based eaters, and we're ostracized a lot of the time because of how we eat. So the two of us, we're this little two peas in a pod that we stick together, and then we've tried to surround ourselves, our friends. Well, most of our friends actually have come to our lectures and they are now plant-based, which is fantastic. So we have this wonderful tribe of plant-based eaters. You don't want to push, as I said before, push your views on anyone else. It's just going to push them away.
Yeah.
You want them to come to you when they're ready, which all three of our sons, we've learned through example. We pushed it on them at the very beginning because at the very beginning, when Bruce found out he had prostate cancer, we just wanted to protect our boys. We just wanted them to eat a whole food plant-based diet so they wouldn't get prostate cancer. We don't want them to go through what we have gone through this last 10 years. However, that pushed them away. So then we really backed off and we became extremely good cooks. We don't say anything. We just feed people. And when you feed someone just delicious, glorious food, whoa, this is not so bad. This is actually really good. And that pulls them in, right? Or you just live by example. So 61, you can't tell right now because I've got my happy shirt on, but I'm in pretty much
take one look at you and people are saying, what are you doing?
And that steers people some towards some away. I have to tell you, it's hard. It's very hard because you're not invited to some things.
Yeah, that actually made me think about one of the things you say about behavior change in your book. And I loved this. You said there are people who are dippers, like they dip their toe in, make sure the water feels good, then they'll dip a little bit. And then there's divers. And I thought that was such an awesome way to explain the way that people like to make change. And we do have different personalities about this. In my program, I call them tigers or turtles. Like the tigers are the people just like,
I like that.
They want to change everything. And the turtles are like, I don't know. Is it safe? I'll do a little bit. Then I'll do a little bit more. Then I'll back up. But dippers and divers, that makes so much sense. And you guys are obviously divers, but you're also saying it's fine to be a dipper. Like just, eat an extra salad. Try the veggie burger or whatever.
Right. If that's where you are, right?
Yeah.
If you absolutely cannot, because there are people that come to our program and say, I cannot give up whatever it is. And
Cheese.
it's usually cheese
Cheese.
and eggs. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
people can't give up cheese and eggs. And a dipper, the small steps leading to great change. It's true. However, they're not going to see great change for a long time. And
Yeah.
so they might get discouraged and say, this isn't quite for me. If you dive in, you're going to see change right away. Now, you're going to see a little bit of negative change too, because your gut biome has all of the bad bugs. And so all of a sudden you're trying to populate it with really good food to bring in the good bugs, because there's so many bugs. And we're just a sack full of bugs. That's what we are. We know so much about the gut biome now and how it influences our mood and our weight and our health and everything. But if you're eating bad foods, you got bad bugs in your gut biome, right? Well, when you start adding good foods in, the bad bugs say, heck
Ooh,
no, forget you. I'm going to give you a whole bunch. I'm going to have you fart, and I'm
gas,
going to have you just,
diarrhea.
and then it's fighting. And then so that person says, whoa, this new diet is not for me. You have to let your gut biome adjust, populate those good bugs in there, and then you're going to be all good to go. There is a little bit of pain. There's a little bit of pain to go with it. And so that dipper will be a little bit better.
One thing you said once at a fitness conference that blew my mind. You said, "Oh, I don't do workouts anymore." And I was like, "What?" And I'm looking at you and you're ripped. And like I said, there's 20-year-olds at puddles on your feet at your feet. And you said you didn't work out anymore. And then I read your book and you describe the first morning after someone has decided they're going to make a change. Do you remember this first morning? And you describe how they will put on their grains, and as they're doing the grains, they will do 50 squats. Can you describe that morning? Because then I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's what she means when she says she doesn't do workouts. This is what she means when she says she's constantly moving throughout her day. And I loved it.
Right.
I would love it if you would walk us through a little bit about what a day could look like if you were living in this
Yep.
way.
Well, you want to think about habit stacking, right? So we all have habits. Like I make coffee every morning, right? Here's what we do. I wake up, the dog is licking my face. That means I have to go out, take him out. I go for a walk, right? I'm right now going out for a walk. I come back in, Bruce is of course still in bed, and I make coffee. Well, while the coffee is brewing, I will do 20 push-ups, right? When the coffee is done, before I have my first sip, I have to drink a full glass of water. Before I get my coffee, I've now put in 20 push-ups and had my glass of water.
Okay.
Then I bring coffee to Bruce.
Nice
and
relationship
he's
habit.
So
I love it.
He's so spoiled. It's not even funny. He doesn't get out of bed unless he has his coffee in bed. And then the dog comes up and licks his face, and then we're all good to go. But before Bruce even gets out of bed, I've already taken a walk with the dog, and I've already had at least a cup of water, and I've done my 20 push-ups. I call it the work in. And then, like when I'm talking to you right now, I'm standing up. I'm not sitting down. I'm standing. I've got a stand-up work desk right here in front of me, and I hardly ever sit down. I've gotten out of jury duty because I've gone to jury duty and I've said, they called my name and I said, I have to tell you, I cannot sit. So I can pace in the back of the room. I will be here, but I cannot sit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love
You're
that.
excused. You are excused.
And you
Thank
live
you
in an
very much.
RV. Like, because a lot of people would say,
full
oh,
time.
come on, I just don't have the space and we're traveling all the time, so I have to sit.
Yeah.
But you just constantly move.
Constantly move. And so it used to be that I would teach 4 classes a day, 4 fitness classes a day, but I didn't eat well. I was a sponsored athlete for different like food companies, and I ate processed garbage, and then I ate white bagels and meat and dairy and all that. And I probably weighed about 15 pounds heavier than I do now, but I worked out 4 hours a day.
Oh,
Now I don't
intensely.
work out at all. I just move throughout the day and I'm eating a whole food plant-based diet and my body knows what to do with the food. That's the thing. My body, when I was eating all the crap, my body was like, oh, what do you do with this crap, right? Well, you don't crap. That's the first thing. Second thing, you feel like crap. And so you just keep eating crap because you're like, oh, I blew it. So I'll just keep blowing it. And tomorrow I'll start again. But when you eat beautiful, fabulous food, and you brought this up earlier about cooking together, eating together, when you cook together and every meal counts, right? We'll never just go out and eat fast food or something. We think about our food. What are we going to have for breakfast? What are we going to have for lunch? Oh, but I can't wait for dinner. What are we going to have for dinner? Oh, and we always batch cook. So we cook at least for 2 days. So like we just had for lunch, we had groats for breakfast. Groats are the whole grain of either oat or kamut or sorghum or whatever it is, and then we make the batch for like 3 days. Okay, so we had that for breakfast with berries, with banana, with flaxseed, and then for lunch I made this cabbage soup. And you think of cabbage soup like, but it's got every potatoes and every kind of vegetable, and it was fabulous. And that is the third day we've eaten that. Put nutritional yeast over the top, put a little sriracha, wonderful. So we've had that for lunch today. For dinner tonight, last night I made a stir fry with all kinds of vegetables, brown rice underneath, and then I make tortillas. Have you ever made your own tortillas?
I have not.
Okay, so maza flour, just maza flour and warm water. That's it. You just stir it
Okay.
up, and then you make little balls, and then you go on Amazon and you buy for $20. You buy this tortilla press, and doot doot, and there's the tortilla, and then you put it on the nonstick cook pan with no oil,
Hmm.
and it makes the most fabulous tortilla chips.
That's amazing. And you've
Wonderful.
got so many yummy recipes in your book. And I
Mm-hmm.
love too
Mm-hmm.
that you really focus on the essentials. It seems like essentialism and eliminating things has been more of your path to
Mm-hmm.
happiness than adding on. Like you made this choice to move into an RV to get rid of anything that wasn't necessary because you're going to have to haul it around the country. With your food, it's been about eliminating and really focusing on the food that makes you feel good. It's like that 80-20 rule. And it seems like
Yep.
as you are living your life, you're really refining what that 20% is that is giving you the most value and being ruthless about eliminating anything that is not that.
Yeah. Perfect. You said it so well. When the pandemic hit, we started thinking, why do we even need a home? So we sold our home and we sold everything. We sold all of our furniture. We sold all of our art. It felt so great. I mean, there's some things that you keep because they're just so sentimental, but then there's so many things that we keep just because we
Someone
keep
gave
them.
it to us, or
And
because we
we
feel
don't,
guilty, we spent a lot of money on
right.
it, or yeah.
Yeah. And we just don't need all that stuff. And the less stuff you have, the more free you are. And for Bruce and I, we can just, if we don't like it here, we just
Go
close
somewhere
the
else.
slides in and we just go someplace else. And it's just really, it is freeing to not have the things make us happy, because things don't make you happy. People make you happy. Experiences make you happy. Memories make you happy. It's not the stuff. And
Yeah,
stuff can really weigh you down.
absolutely. You
Yeah.
are such an amazing model of living your life with intention, of being a model for other people and a mentor to other people. And I am so grateful that I got to talk to you today. And I would love for other people to get into your world. So I know that you teach your 1 Day to Wellness program, which I've taken and I highly recommend. Where are you on tour? Where can people find out about that?
Thank you for asking. And thank you for having me on, because I just think you are just so very special too. And your book is amazing. Anyway, 1day2wellness.org is our website. We do have our 1 Day Wellness program online, as well as I have my fluid strength program. And a lot of our lectures are also online too. We are starting our tour, our 2023 tour. And if anybody wants us to come and teach for their group, we would love to. We also do Zoom trainings as well. So, for example, over Christmas, a company could hire us to come in and do a cooking, and we send everybody the recipe, and then everybody cooks together on Zoom. And then Bruce is so smart with nutrition that he then talks about why are we deciding this food instead of this food, and so then he does a lot of the coaching aspect. So I do the cooking,
As you're
he does the
cooking.
coaching.
Oh, that's so great.
As
What
we
an
cook,
awesome
yeah.
format.
Yeah.
I love that.
So we make like black bean brownies and chickpea cookies.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to have spoken with you today, and I really appreciate you being on the show. Hey, dude, thanks for listening. If you like this episode, make sure you're subscribed so you can get the next one. And by the way, if you rate and review this podcast, it really helps me get found by other people who need some goals, grit, and some woo-woo shit. And be sure to connect and DM me at Una Duncan on Instagram and let me know what you thought of the episode. Chat soon.